and improving the Superdome are high on the list, and tourism and stuff like that, then you're gonna have a situation whereas the people who live there are gonna suffer because you're not paying for education. A lot of those tax dollars are misappropriated. As a matter of fact, a lot of those tax dollars go towards corrupt politicians who really don't care about the people in the city. Like I remember back in high school, I used to go to a high school called John McDonald. We had one class set of books. One. We changed classes just like everybody else, but we couldn't bring the books home because the school was so poor they had one class set of books. Not only did they have one class set of books, but they had holes in the walls. In the winter it was freezing cold. Sometimes it got so cold that they closed the school down. Or we might have class in the hallways. Or sometimes in the summertime it got so hot you can almost not tolerate to go to class. It was very hot inside the classes, except for the computer class, which was the only one in the building, the only one that had air conditioning. That in the principal's office. So I mean, when you subject the people to this type of abuse, when it comes down to appropriating funds for education and decent housing, that I mean, of course you're gonna have a situation whereas a lot of people are economically disparaged. Of course you're gonna have a situation where people aren't doing as good as they could be doing. So this type of situation fueled crime in the community. I mean, not a lot of opportunity, not very good education. I mean, the education's been poor like this since the beginning. I mean, I'm not going to say since the beginning, but at least since like the 1960s when they integrated the school systems and the Great White Flight occurred. Because John McDonald Senior High School used to be the white school, and Joseph S. Clark was the black school. But when everyone left and went to the suburbs, they took that money with them, and the ones who stayed put their kids in Catholic school. So nobody cared about where the funds were going and who exactly was benefiting from building these casinos and stuff like that, and all of these different elaborate tourist attractions and such. So let me get back to the point about the Lafitte Housing Project, or back on track. The Lafitte Housing Development, after Hurricane Katrina, was closed down, even though it received minimal damage from the hurricane. It received minimal wind damage because it's a brick structure, solid brick structure, and the water really didn't rise that high in the neighborhood. Maybe up to the project steps. That's about it. So you didn't have a lot of flooding involved, but yet the city of New Orleans felt the need to shut down all of the housing projects, except for maybe the Melpomene and the Iberville. All of the rest of the housing projects are shut down. Now somebody say, "Oh yes, this is a good thing. Yes, the project shut down. The killing factories are closed." Well, the killing factories aren't closed. What fuels the killing? What fuels the violence? What fuels the economic situation that caused poor people to turn on one another? Poverty. Poverty's still there. The drugs are still there. Lack of police protection is still there. I mean, as a matter of fact, nothing's changed. All of the projects are shut down, and nothing's changed. The murder rate is still sky high. But now you don't have projects to blame it on. Now you don't have dangerous neighborhoods to blame it on. You have a population of people who didn't receive the benefit of a fair education, who didn't receive the benefit of being able to find economic improvement in their own city. I mean, if you look at the city of New Orleans, we have a negative population growth. We've had one every year. The average person in New Orleans with a college education leaves and goes to another state. We lose our educated people to cities like Atlanta, cities like Houston, Texas, Washington, D.C. I mean, the majority of the people in New Orleans who can afford to get out usually get out because we don't have decent jobs that pay decent money. And if there are decent jobs in New Orleans, I mean, the politicians mess it up for us. The politicians, they have their hand out all the time. Ridiculous taxes against businesses. I mean, they're causing a brain drain in our society. A brain drain is when people leave a certain area to go to another area. Brain drain. Kind of like in communist countries. How they leave communist countries to come to America. Same thing in New Orleans. So this is fueling the situation. This is fueling the cycle. Drugs begets violence. Violence begets more violence. It's like the cycle never ends. Miseducation, you know what I'm saying? I mean, this is not going to stop by tearing down the housing development. This will stop once you actually get people in there who care about their jobs, on the school board. People who can actually make a change, and people who can actually, provide for the educators, the teachers who are out there risking life and limb to educate the masses. I remember back when I was in high school, the teachers were on strike half the time. We didn't really learn much. The teachers were on strike most of the time. I had to go do concurrent enrollment at the local community college just to get a decent high school education. I mean, the teachers were always on strike because they go sometimes months without being paid. And if you have a family to feed, you're not really living at labs in the first place. You can't afford not to be paid. I mean, what is this? I thought this was America. I thought this was a democracy. I thought we were the richest country in the world. So in the richest country in the world, you can't afford to educate your people. I mean, a lot of people are going without health care. I mean, you can't even afford a decent police force in order to provide protection for the community against predators, thugs, gangsters, drug dealers. And I'm not talking about the local gangs either. I'm talking about the people who import that shit into America. I'm talking about the ones who really get it here, the ones who have to wait. There's people when they think thugs, they think drug dealers. The first face that comes to mind is a black face, but it's not a black face all the time. I mean, I never knew anyone in the Lafitte housing development with a ship or plane or anything like that to ship heroin and cocaine into the country. I don't see Frank Lucas in my neighborhood. Not saying that there's not anybody like that, but I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So you're wasting all of your police assets chasing down the small guys when there's somebody just shipping it in here, by the boatloads, by the tons even, and that person goes immune. I mean, our city was so corrupt with the police force, they indicted an entire precinct. They called them the Dirty 30. They even had police officers working for drug dealers in the 1990s. Not saying, wait, they're probably working for them way before that too. But one case in particular is a man named Richard Pena. Had several police officers working for him. Several. They were kidnapping drug dealers. They were doing several acts of violence against the community. And you want the community to turn in drug dealers when the police officers are the ones murdering the people. Turn them into who? What? Tell them to report themselves? So, when I talk about the Lafitte housing development getting torn down, it's more the reason of why they want it torn down. Why do they want housing for working class family gone? Because why? Because a lot of the working class in New Orleans is black. I mean, I remember during the election, they rushed to have the election. And when the people in New Orleans who actually did live inside the city of New Orleans, like a lot of the white upper class, saw a chance to get the city back, what did they do? Like 20-something people ran for mayor. 23 people to be precise. 23 people ran for mayor. I mean, that broke a record. I mean, not in 30 years have they had a white mayor in New Orleans, but I mean, 23 candidates running for mayor. So I mean, this shows the type of situation that's going on now. A very racially motivated situation, a very tense situation where there's a power struggle going on in the city. And who falls by the wayside? The people who inhabit the city of New Orleans, the residents, the long-time people who are local, who are loyal to the city. And why do they fall by the wayside? Because you let them. Peace.